And we are live in the doghouse with referee T-Bone Jones. I am going to try to do something that I haven't done before. And let's see if this will work. And we are our guest, Brian Logan. Brian Logan is a professional wrestler and been everywhere from the pictures and from the information I've gathered today. I really didn't know much about you, and I apologize on that, but I've done my research and everything. And Case spoke very highly of you, and I love Case to death. I miss him. He's supposed to be here tonight, and he's not. I apologize to the fans. But we're going to get right into our interview. Brian, I know you've been around a while. Can you explain to us how you got into the business?
Well, funny enough, I was going to a wedding. I was 17 years old, and I went to a wedding, and I bailed out of the reception because Smoky Mountain Wrestling was at the Raleigh County Armory, and I wanted to go see the wrestling, but I was running late from the wedding, and so I went in about maybe the second or third match, and I was going down the steps, and I bumped into a guy, and it turned out it was Tim Horner. And he said, "Man, you're a big kid." And he said, "Have you ever done anything athletically?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I played sports my whole life. And, I'm getting ready to go to college to play baseball." And he was like, "Well, send me a packet of everything you've done athletically." And about maybe 2 months later, I'm at the dorm in Philippi, West Virginia at Alderson Broaddus College. And the phone rings, and Smoky Mountain Wrestling offers me a contract to train.
That is awesome, man. That is awesome. I can't, like, that's crazy. That is, that is big. How long have you been in a professional wrestler?
How long have I been in the business?
Yes, I'm sorry. My phone's going off.
That's okay. It happens. I got dogs that bark. I've been in the business. This will be my 32nd year in the business.
Wow.
So I got in
Yeah,
1993.
that is impressive.
So there were still territories when I broke in.
Yeah. Yeah, that is crazy to think about because it has changed over the years. How much has the business changed for you?
Just it's completely changed. The territory system is completely gone, and the camaraderie is not as strong as it used to be. We used to be a closer knit group. Now the kids are younger, and I don't think they quite understand. Not saying anything bad about the kids, because I'm all for the modern wrestlers, but we were a lot closer back then, and also it was more wrestling oriented back, a couple of decades ago than it is now. It's more high flying and lucha style.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I've seen that a lot here recently too. I have. Um, what let me go to the third question here. Sorry, my wife wrote this for me in my old eyes.
I understand. I do the same thing when I do a podcast.
Okay, well, who was your favorite wrestler growing up, and how did he impact your career? Or were you a wrestling
Well,
fan as a kid?
my favorite wrestler was Harley Race because he was the world champion when I was a kid, and I got to go work for Harley years later, and it was
Wow.
so cool to go out to Missouri and work for him and be around him and hang out. But the Rock and Roll Express were my heroes. Jim Cornette. Sorry about the siren. I live next to a fire department.
Hey, no, that's
But
all good.
yeah, Jim Cornette, who ultimately really broke me into the business. They he was a hero of mine. Rock and Roll Express, Harley Race, the Road Warriors. I loved all those guys as a kid, and I got to work with them as I got older.
I got to work one show with Ricky Morton, man, and he was awesome. We like after my stuff was over, I got my street clothes and we hung out in the audience together and watched the end of the show, and he was totally cool as shit, man.
Yeah, he's the class act, man. He's the best. My first match was against Ricky and Robert on TV in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
I see pictures of you in the ring with them.
Yeah, and they were that summer. The summer of '94. They took me because I broke in the winter of '93. So they, the summer of '94, they took us, me and my partner, Anthony Michaels, and we went around the country wrestling them every night. And it was what an education it was.
Yeah, that's a lot of experience, man. I watched Rock and Roll Express my whole life growing up, man, and just like for me, like it was a big achievement to get to meet Ricky Morton and actually
Yeah, I
talk
mean,
to him.
yeah, once you wrestle Ricky and Robert every night for 3 or 4 months, I mean, you can't help but have the business a little bit because you just they rub off on you. We traveled with them, we wrestled with them, we hung out and partied with them, and it was just an education all the way around.
Okay, well, I'm going to skip ahead to my last question because we're on the topic of Smoky Mountain and Ricky Morton and them. I'm a big
Okay.
Jim Cornette fan. I got to know a Cornette story. You got to have one.
Well, let me see. Okay, I got a good one time. So, um, is this PG or R rated? How do we do this?
We got it set up to where it's not for children, so you can talk how.
Okay, good. All right. So,
Let Case do it.
okay, so I had gotten a prescription for Valium, and I gave him the Cornet because he's so high strung. We were at the Louisville Gardens, and I didn't know it, but he takes the whole handful. So we go out for our match, and he's so high strung. That's how he works. That's his edge, right?
Yeah.
Well, while we're in the ring, we must have done something wrong and really just stunk up the joint. The match was terrible, right?
Yeah.
So we come back and he just tears my ass. And he's so hammered and he's like out of it and everything. But it was the Valium that pissed him off because he didn't have his edge anymore. And he was just yelling at me and tearing my ass, and everything was my fault.
Oh,
And I guess it was my fault. But yeah, there's a lot of getting yelled at for no reason. But he's great to learn from. I mean, he taught me everything I know about psychology and the business end of the business. And it was such a great education. I love him to death.
I agree. Like he's like I listen to his show and I laugh my ass off at some of his shows, man, because he's right. But I agree, like with Case's mentality. There is no old school or new school. There's right and wrong. There really isn't a
I
gray
agree.
area.
I totally agree. I mean, you can still, kids think today that, and I've had them actually tell me, hey, you're an old guy. You don't know what you're talking about anymore. That, they can do their lucha style and all their high spots, but it's where you put them. And that's the difference between the so-called new school and old school. Is the old school would make you, with the right way, put it in the right place. The new school, which is not necessarily wrong but different, just does it anywhere they want to put it, whether it makes sense or not.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like that, I was getting ready to say that it's got to make sense. It's got to be put where it makes sense. It's
Yes,
like
it's totally got to make sense. And if you couldn't do it in a real fight in a bar, you shouldn't do it in the ring.
I agree. It's kind of like the 10 punch thing in the corner. Case told me not too long ago. He's like, that's dumb. He said, who looks good in that situation? The guy giving it looks like a pussy, and the guy taking it looks like he's the Incredible Hulk for not dying after 10 punches unprotected to the face.
Right.
It makes no
Yeah, I mean
sense.
it's little things like that they just overlook nowadays, and they're not wrong. I mean they're as hungry as we were back then.
Yeah.
I mean the established guys said, well, we do too many high spots back in '93 and '94, and they do more than we did. I mean that's just the way life goes and the progression of it. But I mean I just wish they would take some more time and just think about the principle of if you can do it in a bar, then do it. But if you can't do it in a bar, it probably shouldn't be in a wrestling ring.
I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree with you on that. It's like a DDT used to be a finish back when I was a kid.
Right.
It's not a
Right.
finish
Right.
anymore, and it sucks. It's like you're killing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
What was your most memorable event and why? What was the most memorable
Was
event for you in the wrestling business, and why?
we did a show in Louisville Gardens for OVW, and I come from the same class as Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar, and John Cena. So I was disciple Damien, me, and Wolfie D were the disciples of sin, and we did a $72,000 sellout at Louisville Gardens for the Rock and Rumble, and it had Stone Cold Steve Austin was on it. Now they drew it; we didn't draw it. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and Kane, and we worked the Hardy Boys, and we worked Undertaker and Kane. So that's probably my most memorable event.
Wow. What was Undertaker and Kane like when meeting them, for the first time?
Well, I actually had met Kane in Smoky Mountain when he was Unabomb, so I have
Oh,
known him for
wow.
years. And Undertaker was great, man. It was very good. The one thing though is he had to power bomb 5 guys before he got to me. And when he went to lift me, he was blown up, and he kind of drops me on my neck a little bit. I mean, he didn't mean to do it, and I was fine, but it did look a little rough. But it was great being in there with Taker, man. I mean, he's the guy.
Well, yeah. I mean, he was the measuring stick at WWE for years.
Yeah, and he was very easy to work with. Very nice guy. After the match, and this is something young kids don't do. I went into his locker room and thanked him for drawing the house because he put food on my table. And he thought I was ribbing him, and I was like, "No, sir, I'm really serious. I get a bigger payday tonight because you drew this house, and that's more food for my family. So thank you for doing that." And a lot of young kids don't do that anymore.
And they should, they should be. There should be a lot more respect in the business and a lot less backstabbing in politics. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's more of us wrestlers and referees and stuff than there are promoters. And if we band together, I mean, we could all get better pay and everything. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it could all work
Absolutely.
out for the best, and every promotion should work together. Why kill off your competition? Because you're all trying to do what? Have fun and build the next generation of stars.
Yeah, if the promoters could do a little less, I want to do it my way, and a little more of let's set up all they have to do is set up their schedule to where everybody has one night to themselves. They don't run on the same nights. Then everybody could work, everybody would make more money, and the promoters could do more of what they wanted to do. But they all want to run the same night and say, well, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you do what you want to do. If they could just get their scheduling together, the business would be a lot better.
I totally agree. I totally agree because then there'd be a lot more places for guys to work, and there wouldn't be nobody saying, "Well, you can't work for that person, or you don't work for me," and you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that
Absolutely.
going on here in West Virginia.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, West Virginia is really bad. I mean, like in southern West Virginia right now, in Beckley, there's 4 shows running inside the city limits.
Oh my!
And I mean, yeah, and they're all canceling each other out.
Yeah, you can't draw a house if you're running on the same night as your competitor when you're all inside the same city limits. There ain't no way that
Exactly.
impossible.
And then they get mad at the guys, and oh, well, you went and worked that show, so you can't work my show, and oh, it's just terrible.
Yeah. And it's wrong. It is. It's wrong because it hurts a lot of the young guys in the business and leaves a sour taste in their mouth to where they want to walk away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and they just can't get along for some reason because they
Egos.
who knows why.
It's kind of like
Ego,
my dick's bigger
absolutely.
than yours. You know what I mean? Kind of like my dick's bigger than your type thing. And
Yes, it's a
that's
dick measuring contest. It is. It always is.
yeah.
People run out of spite instead of out of trying to make money.
Yeah. And we could all make more money if we all work together instead of fighting with one another. But
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be great if they all bragged about how much they drew because they paid out more money to some guy? Well, my house was so good, I gave this guy $200. Well, that's something to be proud of. Not, hey, we drew 200 people and my guy's over here complaining.
yeah, I know a lot of people that have worked for less than a hot dog and a handshake.
Oh, I do too.
And
A
it's
lot of talented guys that do that.
yeah,
And I'm not going to say I never did that, but
from
I
one
mean,
hand.
yeah, you just can't do it all the time.
No, no, I agree. We're going to move on with the next question. What was what do you feel was your greatest highlight of your career? Like what title? What was your biggest title, or what was your biggest accomplishment in your career?
The biggest accomplishment was in 2009 when I defeated Larry Zbyszko and became the American Wrestling Association World Heavyweight Champion. Dale Gagne had brought back the AWA, and it ran for about 5 or 6 years, and you know,
I think
had the belt. Larry Zbyszko had it right before me, and I got to win the World Heavyweight Championship in my hometown of Fayetteville, West Virginia. So I'd say that was probably the high point.
that is awesome. That is awesome. Larry Sabisco is a legend. Like he's been everywhere, and like he wasn't he trained by Bruno Sammartino, if I am correct, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I beat the guy that beat the guy.
Yeah, like wow, that is impressive. That is very impressive,
Yeah,
sir. That is something to brag about. That's hang your hat on that moment kind of thing.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that, the AWA had 30 promotions at the time that was working together and working together well. So it was a good time in the business from like 2005-ish to 2010 or 11.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I got in right after that. I started in 2013, right after that. Okay.
Okay, yeah, just missed it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You just missed it. Just missed the AWA. It would have been great for you.
Yeah, oh man, I would have loved to have been a part of the AWA. I was a big fan as a kid. I remember growing up watching the Road Warriors on there and stuff. I even had
Oh yeah.
action figures back in the day. The old red.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yep.
Okay, well, next question. Out of all the promotions that you've worked for, which was your favorite to work for and why?
I'd probably have to say that my favorite promotion it's a little small promotion called Southern States Wrestling. It's out of Kingsport. Bo James is the promoter, and I've worked there for 32 years. I was on the TV in Kingsport at one point for 17 years straight without coming off of TV. So Kingsport is definitely my favorite area to go back to, and I do the video production now for them today. So I'm still there, even though I'm not really wrestling much anymore.
That is awesome, man. That you've had a hell of a career. You have, from the pictures I've seen today, you have wrestled everybody and anybody.
Yeah.
Um, all right. Now my next question pertains to Case, like, because he should have been here, and like I would have asked this question in front of you, in front of him. I mean, how long have you known Case? And it's a double question. How long have you known Justin Case? And can you recall a story that makes you laugh, or something memorable of a story about Justin Case?
I've known Case since about 1996, somewhere around in there. Yeah, so I've known him for a long time. We worked for Mason Dixon Wrestling and Atlantic Coast Wrestling up in northern West Virginia, and he usually managed against me, and we worked very well together. I was usually the baby face, and he was the heel manager. Um, I remember one time I think we were in Kingwood. Maybe it wasn't Kingwood, but anyway, the town. He managed this guy, Luscious somebody.
Luscious Lance?
Luscious Long. What is it?
Luscious Lance, maybe?
Luscious Lance. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so some lady had some sign in the crowd that was putting Case down, and I turned my head away for like a split second, and they're up in the bleachers next to that woman. and they're trying to rip out the thing, the sign. They're trying to rip up the sign. Well, the woman just starts in on Case, just beating him down. And they had to do a big pull apart between him and the woman. It was fantastic. It was great. So yeah, they like to never got her off of him, but he had great heat.
Yeah. I remember an APWA show, man. Like he had me rolling. He goes out there. We're at Shitston at the Fox's Pizza Den, and we got 1,200 people or 1,500 people, something like that, in the building to see the Steiner Brothers Frontier Days. Case walked out at the beginning of the show, saw this little old lady, walks over to her and goes like this, like he's gonna smack her. Well, her husband jumps up, and like Roger McCauley, who's the ring crew and everything, and security for APWA, had to get in between the old guy and Case and everything, and it looked great. And the fans chanted "Weasel" all night long, so much and so bad that Scott Steiner's like, who the fuck is Weasel and why is he getting so much heat?
Right. It was showing out other than the Steiners. Yeah.
But Case has got the psychology of wrestling down to a T, man.
Yeah.
Down to a T. I love it.
Yeah, he was great to work with, and I would come over and give him the big punch, and he would sell it very well, and then he would get the heat on me, and man, it was just made the whole night easier working with him at ringside.
He made a lot of guys easier to work with. I'm stumbling over my words. I apologize. He made it a lot easy for a lot of guys in the business. Like he's told me stories and stuff, and like I'm not going to speak on his behalf or anything, but like from what I've heard, he's always been a good dude. He's always done people right, and a lot of people's done him wrong, and a lot of people don't give him credit where credit's due. And I'm glad that you put him over very well, and I really appreciate that because I have nothing but respect and love for Case.
I do too. I love him to death and have respect for him. And, you know, in our business transactions, he was always upfront and honest and good to work with.
He always took care of me. He trained me in the beginning of my career because I was wrestling in the beginning, and then I ended up being a referee, and I just stayed a ref, and I preferred that because my body, I had health problems, 24 surgeries, whatnot. So he's always helped me. He's always been a good friend, and hopefully whatever problems we have right at the moment, whatever it may be, hopefully we can squash it, nip it in the bud, because I'd like to help him out and take care of him, whether it's wrestling or not. I love him to death. So hopefully he hears this. Hopefully he's one of the 4 people that's watching right now.
I hope so. If he is, man, we miss you. Come back.
Yeah, YouTube misses you. I usually have about 90 people watching right now. Where the hell they at?
Well, you had me on there, and that's why.
Hey, man, I didn't say it. You did.
No, trust me. I'm used to working in small arenas where nobody's at. Trust me.
No, usually overnight we gain numbers big time with Case. We usually do about between 70, 80 people in the live, and overnight we usually hit 1,000 to some views before the end of the night. So hopefully we hit some good views soon.
I'm an acquired taste. I grow on you overnight like a fungus.
Okay. I think no, I think we're out of questions there. Is there anything you'd like to talk about? Where do you see the future of wrestling?
Well, I really like what WWE is doing with Triple H. Triple H is a very smart dude. I got to work in WWE a few times, like 5 or 6 times, and they treated me like gold, and they didn't have to. When I worked in WCW, they treated the talent terrible. And fast forward a couple years later, I'm doing jobs in WWE developmental, and they just treated me really, really great. I really think the business is going to go back to, wrestling oriented. And I'm excited to see what this Netflix thing does when they're going to be, putting in more edgier stuff, maybe some cuss words and more, not kid friendly such stuff,
Not so
So,
cartoon.
right, not cartoon based.
Yeah.
Yeah, not PG. I think that'll be good. And I think it'll be really fun to watch. And that's what I'm doing these days. I'm a fan just like everybody else. And I tune in and watch the PLEs and the shows. And I think that the wrestling business is getting ready to cycle around again, and it's going to be good. And it does trickle down. If WWE does good, everybody will do good on the independents.
I really hope so. I really do. I really hope so. And I hope there's some more spots and more places that open up and more people that want to promote around here to where we can, where I can get back to work, hopefully. I'm ready
Right,
to wrestle.
definitely. Well, that's the name of the game, staying busy and working as many places as you can.
I have no connections without Case, brother. So it is what it is.
Well, I'll hook you up. I'll help you out with some things.
I really appreciate that.
I'll introduce you to
Yeah,
some people.
I really appreciate it though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll hook you up with
I
some
thank you.
people.
I
It'll be
thank
all right.
you very much. I mean, you can get on here and check my YouTube videos out. I mean, I got plenty of matches on there where I've refereed, and I've refereed for APWA in the beginning. I refereed the Mason Dixon's last Sugar Grove Naval Base event. I refereed that.
Mm-hmm.
The main event was Jason the Gift Kincaid versus Facade. I got to referee that match.
Mm-hmm.
Where else did I referee? EIW, which didn't last long. Real Shoot Wrestling and USW. I refereed for all those
Yeah.
promotions so far. Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's. I mean, you've got some experience. You just got to get your name out there and go places.
I appreciate that, man. I really do. Well, we're coming into a half hour, so we're just going to call quits there, right there for the night, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Thank you for having me, brother.
Just hang on the line after I end the live stream, and I'll come back over and we'll talk for a few minutes, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you. You have a great night. God bless you. This is T-Bone Jones along with Brian Logan, and we're signing off. T-Bone out.